I'm goofy, so just
Oh, I'm embracing it.
okay, perfect.
Hey, welcome to the Fabric of Culture podcast, episode 8. This is where interview and just get thoughts from different creatives, DJs, models, fashion designers, photographers, so you can apply that to your life. If there's one person you see, hey, that person fits my personality, and those things they're doing seems like things that could work for me, then apply those to your life. All right, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. This is my first time, so I'm a little nervous. Bear with me, okay? My name is Brittany Broussard, aka Princess Sparkle. You can find me on YouTube. Keeping Up with Sparkle is in the link in my bio on Instagram, which is _XO Sparkle _XO SPARKLE. That's me.
And so, what are the two main areas you focus in? Is it modeling? Is it YouTube? Or is there anything else you work on?
Right now, I did so like ever since like July,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say June. Um, well, let's take it a little bit back because I'm moving ahead of myself. So from last year, this time all the way up until June, I was focusing on Miss Texas USA. I competed in July. I did not win, obviously. And I just hadn't really modeled since after I had my child. I was
Mm-hmm.
in this relationship and it wasn't abusive, but it was very dominant. Honestly, it was emotional abuse and mental
Okay.
abuse.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got away from modeling because I had been modeling for like 6 years. And so I got into this relationship and he was like, I don't want anyone seeing your body. This is gross. That's unladylike. And I fell for it, and I was just like telling myself, maybe that's not woman-like for you to be showing your body the way that I was, when it comes to modeling. And then I started to think after my daughter was born, um, do something better that helps your mental health.
Yeah.
And so I started back modeling after Miss Texas USA because I kind of got into a slump. I kind of got into a depression because, modeling, like being the princess of the family, I'm not like an attention whore or anything, but like my beauty does something for me. It motivates me not to be depressed. It motivates me not to have anxiety. And so I started back after Miss Texas USA. I started like just applying for modeling
Mm-hmm.
gigs, like casting calls, whether it be like a face model or a hair model and things like that. So since July this year, I had been pushing. And so I was supposed to be in a fashion show um, in October 28th. No, October 21st. I went to every single rehearsal. And so something ended up happening. Life happens when you have friends and loved ones. And I didn't go to compete. And I just told myself, I said, maybe you just need to relax. So I don't know if I'm answering the question. I feel like I'm
No,
all
I'm
over the place.
good.
Okay, perfect. So I got asked to do this. So I was like, you know what? Slow down. You've been not competing, but you've been in shows since July. August there was a show, September there was a show, October there was a show. You didn't really do it the way you want to in October. I took some time because my birthday was October 28th. So now that I'm doing this, you weren't the first one to ask, but you're the first one I said yes to, because I was scared.
Mm.
So
What was intimidating about it?
well, I'm not antisocial, but I am. I'm
Yeah,
not an
I feel that.
introvert, but I am,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some a type of hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah. And, sometimes when you are in the modeling industry, people aren't as nice as you are. And so I was overthinking the process. I'm like, what if they're mean? What if they look like this on Instagram, or like what if they look like this on YouTube, or you walking with them in a show, but once you really like get in front of them, they're like weird
Mm-hmm.
and mean and strange. So definitely that's the intimidating part.
It's like having your expectations skewed, where you're like,
Yeah.
I thought it was positive, and now it's not, and now
Yeah.
I'm here. It's like why did I do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. It's like, I will never. It's like, no, I won't say anything bad about them, or I won't rate them bad or anything, but I just know I don't want to ever do podcasting again, or I don't ever want to, interview people or something like
Yeah.
that. So I hope that answered the
No, you
question.
did.
Okay.
So I want to go back to what you said with the modeling with the like with your looks.
Mhm.
Do you think it's like once you put that effort in, you see it coming back? So like
Right.
once you get that spot in the show, you're like, okay, like my work is worth it, and that's
Yeah.
like what motivates you, or
Yes. So, it's like this, not this ritual that you have to do or anything, but it's more so like this, once you underestimated yourself your whole entire life, and once you took on those nasty words of people bullying you, and it's like that was my motivation first. It's like,
Mm.
oh yeah, you want to talk about me? Oh yeah, you want to come for me? And I'm not the person to retaliate. I don't like drama. I don't like, pushing the stress ball. But one thing I will do is go to a modeling audition, and once I get it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to be hella badass, and I hope they pick the most sexiest piece for me, so it kind of like strokes my ego when I get the part. Or I automatically tell myself it's already yours because this is not your first rodeo. And not to lie, I auditioned for the Emerge they just had. What was
Yeah.
it, this past weekend?
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm like in the group chat. I'm like, so what's going on? Is like, did everyone who made the Afrima show make the Emerge? But I was caught off guard. And so I'm like, why didn't I get this part? But I had to reel it in. I was like, you had one opportunity if you didn't get both. So it's just always to motivate myself, even if I don't get chosen, or even if I don't feel as confident in the moment, I know to get into character. And growing up, movie stars motivated me.
Sorry, real quick.
Okay.
If you're not picked, how do you, I guess, edit for next time? So
Mhm.
you see, like, okay, I didn't get picked for this one. How do you know, or how do you recreate like the moment where, okay, this is why I wasn't picked? How do you get a feel for that?
Okay, so that's a really great question. Sometimes if I don't show up with the right mentality, like if there's so much happening in my day and I'm like, okay, I'm depending on this to make me happy,
Hmm.
I won't get it right off rip,
Yeah.
because I didn't do that ritual. I didn't approach myself before I even went to audition. I didn't say, hey, you got this in the bag. I was just like, oh my God, I'm just so mad and I'm just going to come to this place. So I would just say, long story short, to make sure the mental is right, you
Yeah.
have to see yourself there. You have to see yourself there. Like, that's literally it. You have to see yourself in that light. And you have to tell yourself, if I want the spotlight on me and if I want to get somewhere in life, I'm going to make it happen. I'm not going to hope for it to happen. I'm going to make it happen. And if I still don't get the spot, somebody who was there is going to remember me, or
Hmm.
somebody who's there, they're going to ask me to do something.
So
Does
yeah, I
that make
played my
sense?
role right, so you're
Right.
gonna remember me next time.
Yeah.
That's a tricky spot for me to be in too, because like the shows I've been in, I think usually if I'm owning it, it's probably either because I already had something else like in the back pocket, it's like, oh, there's another show coming up that I'm already going to be in,
Hmm.
or there's like even for like a job interview, it's like, oh, there's another. I already have like a great job, so when
Right.
I'm doing this interview, it's like I don't need this, I want
Right.
this, and
Right.
so I'm still trying to figure out how to have that confidence without those external things,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's usually, oh, I already have a show, and so
Yeah.
like I'm just owning it because it's
Yeah.
an extra one, it's a
Yeah.
bonus.
Definitely, I want to say too, like, not to compare yourself to what you see when you go to these casting calls or movie calls or job interviews. You cannot look at somebody else and say, oh, they got it over me. Or,
Yeah.
already in your head, you feel defeated because a person, looks better than you. Because sometimes I battle with that too. It's like, oh, they're really pretty. And then, look at her and look at him. And it's just like, no, we all have internal beauty first before everybody looks at the external. And sometimes it's not always like that. People view the external first before they get to see the internal personality. And it's like, well, honestly, if you have a positive aura, that will reflect more. So it's like, as soon as you walk into a room, everything naturally gravitates toward you. So what I do is, like, for instance, it does a lot with how you dress and how you look. So I wear brighter colors. It's like, okay, I know if I go to a modeling interview, everybody's gonna have on like black or white or like all black. And it's like, so if the attire is all black, I need to make sure I have on red lipstick. I
Mhm.
need to make sure my hair is brown, or I need to make sure my heels are a little bit more designed with more sparkle. So it's definitely about dressing up your hair, dressing up your face. You don't have to always do your makeup. And for guys, you don't always have to wear like basic dress shoes. Wear some shoes with a little pizzazz. And if you dress it up with like one chain and like a watch, or something like that, it definitely adds like, wow, they put effort before they came here.
Yeah.
So,
It's that's a really good one. I like that.
mhm.
It's adding something that basically makes you unique.
Right.
So Because I do notice that where it's like it's very uniform. Because everyone's like,
Mhm.
well, this is what I have to wear,
Yeah.
and so they just kind of they go with the flow
Yeah.
basically. Like, well, what else can I do? We're all
Yeah.
wearing black. We're all wearing like white and black.
Yeah.
But then I do notice those like the that person like that guy with the boots that like just pop my ooh like I should have worn that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Or like you said with the hair, the lipstick, where that one thing it makes you stand out because
Yeah.
everyone else just kind of went with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like following rules. That's my problem. And
Yeah.
sometimes it gets me in trouble. I don't care. But and sometimes it doesn't. I'm one of those to push it. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll let you slide. And it's like, oh, because she's sweet and she's not forceful or arrogant. But yeah. Yeah.
I want to. This is a rewind for a while.
Yeah.
For Miss Texas,
Mhm.
how do you like prep for something like that?
Oh my God. So I was completely obsessed with it and I hated it because I started to neglect everything else that really mattered, like my daughter. I started to neglect my happiness. I was like, I have to win because I want to get out of the circumstances that I was in at the
Hmm.
time. And part of those circumstances are still going on, but they're not as drastic as they were. You definitely, before you prep to spend a whole lot of money, you have to first internalize and ask questions like, am I ready for this? Like the intimidation, because there's so many beautiful women who do like so much stuff and they're involved in everything. And, they have that daddy privilege and
What do
that's
you mean? What are they involved in?
like they're involved in like different community groups and like different organizations and they have people sponsoring them like the monster energy
Hmm.
drink and
Yeah.
the NASCAR people just all kinds of billionaire companies, millionaire companies.
Yeah.
And compares to someone who doesn't have any of that, you automatically feel less than. And so I just want to say to anybody who's out there who's trying to compete in pageants, do not open yourself up vulnerably until you are ready to take on everything that can possibly come with being traumatized by your insecurities.
Mm.
Modeling, pageantry, acting, I don't care what anyone says. If you are not solid in your insecurities, they are going to be triggered. Your trauma is going to be triggered automatically. So you definitely have to say, am I ready for this? Am I ready? Am I going to feel intimidated as soon as I see a pretty girl walk across me? Am I going to feel intimidated as soon as I hear everything that she does, even if I didn't finish college? They have like their resume, they finished college, like they went to Harvard, and I went to a community school. So it's just like you have to have the mind frame of a person that is a overcomer, because as soon as you get intimidated, it's like a fight or flight situation. It's like when you get intimidated, you run. You like, I don't ever want to approach that again, because you didn't even meet a person clear off the rip. You just automatically looked and you saw it and then you started to compare and you automatically said no.
And if you're too intimidated, you've already lost
That part.
because there's no coming back from that. If you go too far out, you can be intimidated, then like okay,
Yeah.
I can own this.
Yeah.
But it's usually it's like you said, it's fight or flight. Like
Yeah.
if you instantly go to that flight and you don't come back,
Right.
then you shouldn't even be there anymore.
Right. Right.
A lot of people they're like, oh, like they're in that spot, and like, oh, I can still do it, but they're
Mhm.
in their head thinking too hard, thinking about those
Mhm.
insecurities, like you
Mhm.
said. Because
Yeah.
it's well, what is it about those? It's all those arts basically, where you see something that someone else can do, you assume they can do better than you. Don't know
Right.
yet. Like that, the people who are judging you, you don't know for sure what they're looking for.
Right.
You don't know what the other people have shown
Yeah.
talent wise,
Yeah.
but you're making assumptions based on those physical things or
Right. And I want to say this too, like your motive besides winning or whatever, no matter if you're competing or going to an audition, your motive off rip is to have fun. You have to have fun because you have a passion for modeling, you have a passion for dancing or performing in front of anybody, even if that's just going on the street, right?
hmm
You have to have fun because those are, it's not just the opportunity that makes the moment peaceful and happy and joyful. It's also you. Are you optimistic? Are you confident? Are you charismatic? Are you an enthusiast? Do you need people to make something pop, or can you just make it pop by yourself? Those things, it's like a Venn diagram. You have to do, I haven't done a Venn diagram in like since kindergarten, but no, like if you create a Venn diagram and you write your topic as a title. So for your case, interviewing people on the street, you have you have on this side, you have like my fears or the cons or the pros, and then on this side you have the total opposite. And so when you're standing in front of people, you say, well, what makes me scared in this situation? Or it's like you're mapping out the foundation for whatever it is that you want to do. So if you're telling yourself, okay, I want to do this because I know that it'll get me out of this bubble of being shy.
Mm-hmm.
And then what comes with that? What benefits comes with getting out of my bubble? I will get more views, I'll get a different perspective on life. I'll have like a biased opinion because I thought of it this way, but when I heard someone else say it, it was completely different, and it changed my mind, or it changed my view on how I should view things or how I should speak on things. And then you have like the cons. What is the worst that can happen if I go out here and talk to these people? They can bypass me, but am I going to die if they bypass
Thankfully, like
me?
the only worst case scenario is really just either them saying no or them changing their mind like halfway
Right,
through.
right.
So I've had some out of these guys. They're like, "Oh yeah, like I'm down to do the interview," and then I asked them one question, and they're like, "Never mind, we're good," and just like just walk off.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, okay,"
yeah.
but I think
And how
the
does that make you
positive
feel on the inside?
it was more than anything just a little bit annoying because
Mhm,
like, well, I told you, but I understand why because
mhm,
certain areas like a different time thing was like I want to get into this spot
mhm,
before it gets crowded or
mhm,
this. And one guy was like really into doing it, and one guy was like kind of into doing it.
mhm.
And one friend, right when we started it, right when we started recording, he had already walked off. He said, "Oh, okay," and just kept on walking. And so the
Mm.
guy who was kind of into it saw his friend keep on walking down the street. He's like, "I'm going too then." And the last
Oh
friend,
no.
he's like, I asked him one question, then he changed his mind. He's like, I'm not going to be here alone if they're not going to stay with me. So
Mm,
he left too.
yeah.
But the positives outweigh those negatives by so much
Yeah.
because it's like, well, not only is it fun,
Mhm.
but I get to meet different cool people. I get
Yeah.
to hear interesting stories. There's people making me laugh. Like every single question, every single group of people I talked to
Mhm.
was making me laugh, crack up,
Wow.
smile. And then of course, like the other benefits like views and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
it's just fun in general.
Yeah.
And there was one like 2 weekends ago
Mhm.
where I was talking about like the worst date, and it was this
Mm.
couple, and we were gonna talk to this couple, then talk to these girls, but they were twerking at the time. So yeah, like we'll wait till they're done,
Yeah.
and so coming up like right then, and so we started talking to the couple, and he was talking about like his best date. He was talking about his worst date. His worst date and his best outfit for like a woman was clearly not his girlfriend. And so she was
Mm.
looking at him, but then his best date was her. But the funny thing was during the worst date explanation, she's like, "This is the worst date I've been on." she was ready to roast him. She had every chance, and believe me, she took them. But it was fun to see that because he talked about like the hard times in the relationship. And he talked about the positives and how much like for his best date she truly showed she cared and like
Yeah.
put in that heart. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool too.
Mhm.
So it's stories like that where you see like the funny stuff and you
Yeah.
also see like the heartfelt stuff.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That must be interesting to watch that in someone's relationship. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I hope when they go home everything's okay, or, you know.
Yeah, it was just like one of the ones you told me you had seen with
Mhm.
the with those two girls
Mhm.
where she was talking about like the
The
guy with the
dread.
dreads.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was so funny.
Because her worst date, I was like, okay, that is a bad date. She's like, yeah, it was my boyfriend. And I was like, oh.
I watched that video like 10 times because it was so funny. She just kept saying the dress and then like the pop-ups and the words.
Hmm.
Oh, that was so funny. That's funny. They need to be paid actors. It's crazy.
So let's go with that. For you, why'd you get into YouTube?
Well, because I have a huge personality and I was just tired of hiding it. And so,
Hmm.
but no, I started YouTube for like single moms. And that really didn't catch. So I was like, okay, well, I want to just do like motivated videos. And that was when COVID first hit.
Hmm.
And so I ended up getting into this relationship, and it's crazy because I've been exposed myself. It's okay. So I was in a relationship with the guy I was telling you about that didn't want me to model. I was kidding. I was getting very overwhelmed because I felt like I was dating myself. Like it was like I'm not in a relationship with anyone. I'm dating myself
Hmm.
because there's like a lack of emotional support here.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was just, I was like a trophy wife because I was engaged to him. So I was doing YouTube then, but it was really mostly for like him because he was in a car club. So I ended up COVID hit. I ended up going to Houston. I moved to Houston, fell in love, and I started doing YouTube out there because my best friend stayed out there at the time. And so I was like, you know what? I can do this for single moms, like, single moms who are trying to become entrepreneurs or, single moms who are just trying to get their life together. And that
Mm.
didn't really take off, but
Yeah.
I wasn't disciplined in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, then I switched it and I started doing like vlogs. And then I switched it again. I started doing like makeup. And I was like, this is not really my thing because I don't wear makeup every single day. And I'm still learning how to do makeup. And so I was like, nope, I'm going to move it to cooking. And then I was like, you know what? Nope. So now, now I put it back to vlogging. And I'm doing just a little bit of everything because I get bored. I do not
Yeah.
like to be bored. And even though I don't get a lot of views, somebody's going to find me one day. And that person who finds me one day, they're going to share my video with someone, or they're going to repost it on Instagram, or I don't know how TikTok really works. They're probably going to repost it there or something like that. And so I just believe that there's money out here for everybody. And yeah, everybody's doing YouTube, but nobody does YouTube the way I do YouTube. And, I've had a spiritual life that has transformed in so many ways. So, there's a video on there for a girl, she doesn't know if she wants to be a Christian or she doesn't know if she wants to be spiritual, because I have experience in both.
Mm-hmm.
I've had experience with like doing tarot cards, and I don't do it anymore. But, there's a video on there for anybody and everybody who's willing to listen. So, one thing about me, I love wisdom, I love food for thought, energy, and I love, anyone who's there to help. I'm not going to hop on a bandwagon, but if it's something that benefits my life and that can, help me fling like a slingshot, I'm going to take that opportunity. So it's just pretty much to express myself because, like you said, when you just mentioned, if you hear something that resonates with you, why not ask questions? Why
Mm-hmm.
not? So definitely, because I don't like being bored.
You know what resonates with me? Food for thought.
Food for thought.
I was thinking, I was
Yeah.
like, man, you should have like a little side part of your channel where it's just like cooking and then like a little wisdom like spiced in there,
Okay.
like little tips or like things like the spiritual or like religious things
Yeah.
added to that while
Okay.
you're cooking. I was like, that
Okay.
sounds nice. I was like, food for thought.
Okay. I'm gonna listen. Mental thought, mental check.
But
Definitely.
that's how it was for me too. Because what was the first thing I did on YouTube? It was, I think, when dating, fashion tips,
Mhm,
and I kept on doing fashion tips for like a year.
mhm,
And some of them would get pretty good views, and then some would just like tank. And I was like, "What's the difference?" And I couldn't figure out the difference because I thought it was maybe topics, but I still haven't figured that key point out. I think it's maybe just some areas are just kind of like oversaturated,
yeah.
and so if you have like really skilled people already doing that, like I can just watch them.
Yeah.
hmm
Interesting.
But with things like this, like the show or like the street interviews, it's like that's personality based and
Mhm,
also the people I pick.
mhm.
It's like the people I pick to come on the show, things like that. Okay, that's someone who hasn't been on, a show before. So not only is
Right.
it my personality, but it's meshing with you. It's
Yeah.
meshing with who I had last week and the week before and who's
Yeah.
coming up. And so no matter what, it'll always be different. But then also has that little bit of the tips in there too.
Yeah.
So no matter what, it will be different,
Yeah.
which works.
Yeah. And that's key to success for minority culture or indigenous culture because not to pick or plag on anybody's success, but minority culture, we're not as privileged, and we have a scarcity mindset with everything, not just money, but everything that brings us happiness is like we freak ourselves out before we start, and then if we don't get the same response as anybody else who is famous or anybody else who has help, it's like, I will never get there, or I'll never measure up to this. And it's like, we have to be realistic with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like you said, you not personality pick, but you vibe, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's very important. That's key to success, having a very comforting personality about yourself. You're not very like, "Ugh," like you're not pushy.
But like you said, it's not even. You're right. It's not a personality pick. It's more like if I didn't want someone on the show, I wouldn't invite them.
Right.
Therefore, it's already most likely gonna mesh well.
Right.
It'll already click in some way. But the scarcity thing, I feel like that's true. But it even goes back to what you said because I think with like minority races and like indigenous people,
Right.
it's a thing where it's already like a smaller group. So that
Right.
means you also have like a smaller group to feed into.
Right.
So that also kind of fights against it,
Mhm.
because I've seen so many people who like, who look like me, who look like you,
Yeah.
who have blown up and acting, modeling, and
Right.
in like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, all that,
Right.
all the things,
Right.
to where it's like, if we're a small group, but you can click with someone else who doesn't look like you
Right.
personality wise, then there's always like a chance, as long as you're doing the right things
Right.
or thinking logically about it, where it's okay,
Right.
these are the things that could click for me
Mhm.
based on like who I am.
Right. Right. That is very, very important. And I thank you for saying that. Diversity is key to success as well, and key to breaking out of a mold within yourself.
Hmm.
Hanging out with people like, who are mixed race. Like, I would consider myself to be, in the mixed race because I have Indian, I have Trinidadian in me, I have Cuban in me, I have African American, I have, Caucasian. And it's like, is that the reason why I break and I feed naturally with like different people who are from different countries and have different cultural backgrounds and different geography? And it's like, how do we teach people who are just, you know, okay with being around Hispanics, or just they're okay with being around African American people? How do we teach them how to branch out so that they aren't scared to, you know, I don't know how to really say. And I'm saying this because I'm not a part of the community, but my best friend, he's a part of the community. It's called Project Revive, and
Hmm.
they're pretty much helping the children fight for their dreams without, even if they don't get a scholarship in anything, you still have to fight to make room for yourself in the world. And so Project Revive is like shining the light. And he said something the other day. He said, I don't want to just entertain Black people. He said, I want there to be a mixture of everything, because that's how you get different organizations to spawn to you. And that's how you get different, people to reach out to you.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to make a room for everybody here. And so when you're out on the street, I'm sorry, you're interviewing me, but I have to ask, when
Oh,
you're
that's cool.
out interviewing people, do you say, and you look at them and you're like, I don't think they will say yes to me if I interview them, and they're the opposite race than you? Or is it,
Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
you don't think about
It's
that? Okay.
basically whoever, like, say like last week, or a few weeks ago, like
Mhm.
my questions were kind of like fashion and dating.
Mhm.
So basically, like, whoever was best dressed, I was talking to.
Mm.
But then some of those people would say no, so it's just like whoever's left, and if they're interesting, I'm
Yeah.
keeping it in.
Yeah.
Because there's people I talk to who are kind of like, they like, either they didn't want to be there, or they just like weren't filled anymore,
Mhm.
or just weren't that interesting. So
Mhm.
it's like, I'm talking to everyone, but there's people like I'm picking out for certain reasons. And
Yeah.
it's usually like they seem like they would be fun, or like they're really well dressed, something like
Yeah.
that. But I think with the what you said before, I think that's a good thing.
Mhm.
It's Project Revive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. But also, there's no reason that someone has to branch out if they don't want to.
Right.
So it's more like, if you see that benefit to you and that's something you want to do,
Right.
then go for it.
Right.
But if it's something you're not interested in, 'cause there's plenty of people like within each community, like the
Right.
Asian community, the Black community, Latino community, where it's like, we're our own. As long as you're building each other up and not building other people, breaking other people down,
Right.
do your thing.
Yeah.
But it's the people who are within their own community, but then try to break other people down.
Yeah.
That's what I have a problem with. Otherwise, do you?
Yeah.
Like, if you just want to have all like white homies or all like black homies, that's cool. But it's like,
Yeah.
as long as you're not breaking other people down.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
I respect that.
Hmm.
Highly respect that. Um, for people who are, looking to branch out, I did want to mention this. I applied for this. It's not like brand ambassador or anything, but it was just pretty much to stand there and look pretty while everybody walked past you. Like whatever design you're wearing, you pretty much whatever it is that you're wearing, people will come up to you and ask what's going on, because it's like this little, fashion like vendor event.
Yeah.
And so I ended up applying for it. And And she was asking me a question. She's like, well, do you have like a portfolio and things like that? And I'm like, yeah, I have a portfolio. So I'm like sending it to her. And for people who don't know what portfolio is, like pretty much like your media resume, and like your experience resume of like you doing like shows and things like that. And so I send it to her, and she never responded back to me. Like she was very like lucrative and wanting information and things like that from me. And
Mhm.
so once I showed her my pictures of my portfolio, she never responded back. And so I ended up going over to the Instagram, and it was just Caucasian girls on there.
Mm.
And so that's what made me ask that,
Yeah.
because you will have those people who only want a certain look.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah.
actually a wild story that there's two stories. One personally,
Mhm.
but it's more like what is it? It's not like a racial. It's like a racial bias. They don't realize the racial bias. It's like
Mhm.
things with I'll tell the first one first. It's the modeling. Basically, I can't remember her name, but she was I believe she was Chinese.
Mhm.
I'll just say she was an Asian model, like in Cali,
Mhm.
and she did the runway. And she ended up doing the runway because one of the other models I think didn't show or
Mhm.
was sick, and so she modeled for this fashion designer. And then he used AI
Mm.
to whitewash her face
What?
for his style because like the show picked her, but the fashion designer didn't, and so
Mm.
he replaced her face, this Asian model, to have it like it was like very obvious that like it looks. I think maybe if you didn't know,
Mhm.
maybe, but then I think after that she complained. She posted her TikTok.
Mm.
He got a lot of heat, and then I think he just instead he just posted like a bunch of AI like models
Wow.
to make it seem like yeah, it's not what they're saying. It's this thing. But I
Mm.
haven't looked back into it to see what happened after that. But it's like things like that, like you mentioned, are very common,
Yeah.
and you can sniff them out.
Yeah.
You can see, but it sucks. But
Yeah.
you just got to find the people who rock with you
Yeah.
and keep on finding people who rock with you, which means like we're talking about for rejection, like more you got to
Yeah.
get used to those no's
Yeah.
because which is also why this industry and industries like this are so tough because it's
Mhm.
like people are judging. They're not judging your value, but they're judging your value
Right.
based on a very limited amount of information.
Right.
It's looks like one 30-second audition, one like 2-minute audition, however long, a
Mhm.
very short audition. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, you're not worth it to me.
Mhm.
Which is the key point.
Yeah.
You're not worth it to them.
Yeah. And
But
that does
there's
suck.
yeah, it sucks, but that means also there's someone else out there that will find you worth it.
Right.
And I
Right.
was who was it? I actually heard another story about an actor. He which shows how tough these different industries can be where you don't make it, you don't make it. Then all of a sudden things go off. He had really worked hard for years and just kept on like bombing auditions.
Mhm.
And he gave up, but he had like past auditions and past shows he had or past things he'd been like small things, indie
Right.
things. And someone saw it and they're like, I need that guy. And he had
Mm.
quit for a year.
Wow.
He went to a normal job
Mhm.
and then someone hit him up and said, hey, like we need you in our
Wow.
show.
Mhm.
And the show's not out yet, but I thought that was crazy that this guy who gave up, which happens sometimes,
Right.
but I think a lot of these things with these industries like
Mhm.
modeling, acting, and just even like YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, all this stuff, a lot of it's like work ethic,
Right.
but a lot of it's also luck.
Mhm.
So you just keep on pushing until someone sees you, and it's like a scary thought. But sometimes someone may never see you. There's plenty of
Right.
people who are like very skilled, very like interesting,
Yeah.
but either the algorithm didn't boost the video, or they needed to switch like one thing,
Yeah.
and they didn't know that one thing was the thing they needed to switch, and so they never make it.
Oh, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, with that being, a content creator or an influencer,
Mhm.
what do you say helped you? Was it the hashtags? Was it like your thumbnail? Or was it like, just the talent of the video itself? What do you say changed? Like, what did you notice from your first video that didn't really get the views that you want compared to the video that got the views? Or is it like the ones that you don't really feel too confident about get most views? Or do you hear where I'm going?
I get where you're going,
Okay.
and I don't have the answer just yet. Cause
Okay.
I'm still workshopping.
Okay.
So some videos, like there was one I did a show for my friend,
Mhm.
and I literally just clipped that, and it
Mm.
has more views than a lot of my own videos.
Wow.
I didn't edit anything. I didn't. I have an editor.
Mhm.
I didn't even bother him, 'cause I knew he was busy with college and stuff like that. So I just clipped this up myself,
Mhm.
posted it, and that has a lot more views than like a lot of my videos.
Mhm.
So I think it's partly luck. It's also knowing how to research with marketing. So it's
Right.
like for YouTube, it'd be thumbnail and title.
Right.
So I'll workshop titles. I'll send thumbnails to my friends like, "Hey, does this look good?"
Mhm.
Like for example, for this episode, I sent two of my friends. Like I put your picture and I put like my title,
Mhm.
and I asked her, "Hey, does this look good?" She's like, "That one doesn't really look that good," or "This one doesn't." So we'll see. I'll see based on the title and the thumbnail if people actually find it interesting,
Right.
and then I'll edit it from there.
Okay.
Because I know this. I I've been watching the shows. I think they're good. There's some
Mhm.
things I can fix, which I'm still working on,
Right.
but overall, it's still getting there.
Mhm.
So it's definitely more of a. It's the packaging.
Okay. So are you hard on yourself? Do
Mm,
you give like set yourself like deadlines or you're like, oh man,
I
I
think I
wish.
used to be more hard on myself.
Yeah.
I'm pretty lax lately.
Yeah.
I'm just okay. Do better next time.
Mhm.
It's more of a okay. This wasn't the thing that worked. Fix this.
Mhm.
And even with my editor, I was like, hey, like just clip a little shorter because I fumbled. Like I fumbled the bag. So
Mhm.
you pull it up a little tighter because there was one that I posted with the street interviews
Mhm.
where it was interesting, but I think I asked the same question twice, and like I was drinking because I went out early before the interviews,
Mm.
and they were clearly out before that too,
Mhm.
and so it's like a miscommunication where it's not interesting when you hear someone say the same thing twice.
Mhm.
So it's like it's fine. I'll just like post it again later with it shortened,
Mhm.
without the worst date twice.
Right.
And so it's things like
Mm.
that where you notice where if you're not getting to the meat, sometimes people won't wait to find out if the
Right.
meat's there.
Right.
So it's getting to the point, packaging it well,
Right.
things like that.
Right.
And
That's
that's what I'm
great.
still working on, but I have an understanding of what works.
Mhm.
I just got to keep on pushing cuz like I said before, it's a luck thing.
Right.
There was I keep on thinking of people like who have like interesting parts about them. As a YouTuber,
Mhm.
she does like she's like one of my two favorite ones about like YouTube tips. I
Mhm.
can send her and another one to you after this for
Okay,
like YouTube.
sure. Okay.
But she had done YouTube tips for well no before that she did AI,
Mm.
and so she talked about AI all the time,
Mhm.
and then she realized oh like this is going down. This isn't my niche anymore. I'm not finding this interesting.
Mhm.
She switched to YouTube tips,
Mhm.
and her first videos, and she made a completely new channel for this too,
Wow.
and they weren't getting views.
Mhm.
And then but they were all pretty good. Like I watched all of them.
Yeah.
I think I found her. I caught her sixth, seventh video on that channel.
Mm.
But on the 10th video, that one blew up.
Wow.
I think at first it was like 250K, and now it's like in a million, 2 million.
No.
Yeah,
Wow.
but then because of that video,
Mhm.
her old videos, which were good, blew up too.
Mhm.
But it's just like that next video like proved to people this person's someone worth watching,
Yeah.
and so the algorithm pushed her further.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, people like this person,
Mhm.
and so people start seeing the old videos too.
Mm.
So sometimes it may be that the old videos are good.
Yeah.
It's just that people don't
Timing.
know, the
Yeah.
algorithm doesn't know. So it's like a feedback loop.
Yeah.
The better you do, you almost you still have to try, but you
Yeah.
almost have to try as hard as like that first point, the
Yeah.
breaking point
Yeah.
to just get in general,
Yeah.
which is true for anything, modeling, acting, where it's if no one knows you,
Yeah.
then you can't do anything. You
Right.
can't prove you're worth picking.
Right.
But once people know, you're like, okay, we know this person's good.
Yeah.
Same thing with videos, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, this person's interesting. Okay, I'll come back.
That's so crazy because I started stressing myself out, like
Yeah.
trying to find the algorithm.
Hmm.
And I noticed, like, in some of my videos, like, if I'm just being completely myself and not really caring because, the algorithm, that's kind of like out of our control.
Yeah.
And uh, I went to school to be a psychiatric nurse. And one thing that I did learn is definitely going with the flow.
Yeah.
Not sometimes, not all the time, but like, say for instance, I'm like posting like 5 times a week, right? Just an example. And I was like stressing, like, you gotta push, you gotta push, you gotta push, you gotta push. And I wasn't getting any like, like reviews or anything. And so then I was like, okay, well, push back like 3 days, like do 3 days a week. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't as stressed out. And it's like the same with modeling. I'm like, you have to do something every single month. You have to do like a show every single month. And it's like, no, honey, take a break.
Hmm.
you know, because I was in my mind, I'm like, if you were a celebrity, you'll be here at like 6 a.m. and then you have to like catch a flight and be there at like 1 p.m. so you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, girl, you're a mom.
Yeah.
You like to cook, you hungry, you can't be around too many people. You start feeling like their thoughts are your thoughts. And, you have to do like this whole entire like cleansing and like all this stuff and like taking some time to just like relax and taking like a day off. So do you take any days off or is it just like I gotta grind, I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of thing?
Lately,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a grind,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's been a good grind. It hasn't been the bad type. 'Cause I think just base it. I think the best way to do it is to base it off you. You know how much work you need to get done, and just be
Right.
realistic. Say, okay, like what's the bare minimum, and do I think I can push a little bit past that?
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm pushing like, a little bit past that, where I'm doing like the videos, and I'm okay. Okay, I can edit this, I
Yeah.
can do this, but I also like have other goals too. Because like I'm taking a break from modeling, because I want to like lean down a little bit more.
Mm.
Because I remember before like, these last 2 years before COVID,
Mhm.
because during COVID I lost like my little brother, and
Mm.
so I went on like a bender,
Mhm.
and so like I used to be like way leaner, and
Right.
so I'm like okay, like let me get back to that to where I'm like I'm healthier, I'm
Right.
treating myself right, and then I'll try this. But for now, there's other projects I had in mind that I
Right.
wanted to work on, so let me work on those
Mhm.
instead of doing this.
Yeah.
So like trying to multitask and like failing at both. Let me
Yeah.
like hone in on one type
Mhm.
of thing I want to do
Mhm.
and do that.
Yeah.
And so I think with work ethic and with grind, there's some people who are like they can they're like energizer bunnies.
Yeah.
They can just keep on going. But I don't knowing me, I don't think I'm that type of person. So I'll
Yeah.
try to like mine is a pretty like I'm just gonna work on my stuff, try to get like 2 or 3 things posted
Yeah.
a day. But it's like I have an editor, I have someone who can help me out with that part. And then for me right now, it's been like fitness, work, and then having something. That's why I like this format where
Yeah.
it's all I need to do is have the thumbnail ready, the title ready for this show,
Mhm.
and then prep that. But it's live, so I don't need to edit it afterwards.
Mm.
And so if
Right.
there's any problems, then I'll have an editor fix it.
Right.
But otherwise, it's more of a I'll put the work in with you while we're talking,
Mhm.
think of questions that will flow with this.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's there's no need to grind too hard, like break yourself down to where you
Right.
can't keep on going.
Right.
So I'd say I'm like right below redlining.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's a great
Hmm.
response. For people who are out there who want to model, it's important to be not like extremely like, oh, I have to be like super fit and super skinny and I have to
Yeah.
have like, rock hard abs or, whatever. It's definitely if you just eat clean, the work will do itself, the body heals itself. So just pretty much like making sure you stay hydrated with like drinking tea. If you're not really okay with like drinking water, you just find like different avenues of how you can do something. Because I know I used to be like completely obsessive, like I'll watch this model, watch this model.
Hmm.
I was obsessed with runway models like
Mm.
Tyra Banks,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Naomi Campbell. And so that's what like kind of like motivated me to model, because I wanted to always go to like different countries without having to go into my own pockets to fly out.
Yeah.
And so I started like Angelina Jolie or like, just women like that, Stacey Dash and things like that. I just watched how they carried themselves. And so that's how I started to base in my mind as a young girl, you have to look like this if you want to make
Mm.
the part.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing if you have balance, but that can be a toxic thing as well because, that comparison mode is like, you're not going to be this person, no matter how much you have all these Kardashian lookalikes out here, you're never going to be that person. And it's okay, get your content, have
Hmm.
it as motivation, but don't idealize them,
Yeah.
because whatever it is that you're idolizing, things come with that can make you toxic and you forget who you are.
Yeah.
You won't remember what's authentic about you because you're trying so hard and pushing so hard to be someone else you're not. So definitely just keep a great diet and get good sleep. And I think, everything will be well.
Sleep is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because even when I was leaner last year, like one of my friends called me out on it. He was like, "I think you're looking at the wrong people, bro." Like, where it
Mm.
was like I'm comparing myself to these people who are this is their job or they're on steroids. They're doing something where it's like obviously they're still putting in work, but
Right.
it's you're comparing yourself to the wrong people. It's just
Right.
comparing yourself to you.
Right.
And I was at a good spot. I'm in a decent spot now, so
Yeah.
still no hate. But it was like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Like I wish I had realized that sooner, but I didn't. It didn't click for me
Right. Right.
to where the comparison game is a horrible game. It's a
Mhm.
game unless you're comparing to yourself, which still within reason,
Right.
but otherwise it's like
Yeah.
slow drip poison.
Yeah, it's important to fall in love with yourself.
Hmm.
Honestly, I'm learning that right now. I'm like, what do you like about yourself? Before your mind goes to these things that you don't like, what do you like?
Yeah.
What makes you different or what makes you special? It's just like you're like going to a job and they ask, well, pretty much how do you benefit us? Like ask yourself, how do you benefit yourself for like all the people who are out here committing suicide because that rate is starting to slowly but surely move up.
Hmm.
And it's like how do we motivate kids who are younger than us when we were just, because I'm 27, I just turned 27, and I don't look it,
No.
you know. But it's like, what would I tell myself when I was 23 years old? I was depressed. I was like drinking and like, I wouldn't say I was smoking heavy or anything, but I was just like drinking I never had to pay for anything. So
Hmm.
it's like somebody offered me something to drink, like, hell yeah, I'll drink it. Can I cuss on here? Is it
Yeah,
okay?
you're cool.
Okay. But
But don't say the S word.
I won't say the S word.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I'm gonna drink because I'm sad.
Yeah.
And I know if I was to take a shot, I would be a completely totally different person. I wouldn't be insecure at all. I wouldn't be, I'll be more prideful than confident. I would be more
Hmm.
arrogant than, humble. And it's just like, okay, stop drinking, girl.
How do you toe that line of like for confidence?
What do you mean?
Basically, so say you're going to a show and you're
Mhm,
prepping for a show. How would you keep that within reason to where you're confident, you know that you're worth it,
mhm,
and you don't let basically you're gonna own your audition
mhm.
with confidence, but if say you get rejected, you wouldn't let it hit you too hard.
Right,
But also if you win, you're not gonna let it go to your head.
right. So you're asking, how do I keep the
Yeah,
balance?
keep the
Okay.
balance. Hmm.
Well, honestly, I pray.
Hmm.
I do, cause sometimes not all the time do I think I'm gonna get it. It's just like I hope they like me, and so it's just like I do like a little mini dance internally. It's just like
I like
get
that.
like it's like sometimes when you go to like a modeling audition, if they're not playing like the right music, you're like,
Yeah.
how in the world am I going to even ace this? Or they don't play any music at all, and you just like have all of these people watching you, like you're already nervous,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh my god, play a beat in your head, dance in your head, get goofy, get the jitters out. Like if I couldn't take a shot, it's like get the jitters out. And it's just like looking around, it's just like find something that I like. It's like, oh, that's pretty. So it's like I have to distract myself.
Mm.
And so just in case, okay, after that, say I already got the part, or if I didn't get the part, it's just like, okay, next time you come to a rehearsal, if you got the part, make sure they see something different about you. Make sure it's different every single time. Make sure I make it a mission. It's my mission to make sure I'm different every single time. I
What do you
don't
mean?
like standing out when it comes to like
Hmm.
standing out.
You mean different from the crowd or different? I thought you meant different from yourself at first.
Truly, both.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would say
both.
both,
Okay.
definitely. So I was standing out from the crowd, making sure I'm not around anybody who seems like they're filled with drama because I pick up on energy very well. I
Hmm.
have really great discernment. So it's like make sure, oh no, I'm gonna stay right here, stay by myself. I have to stay in a zone sometimes because, when you're at modeling auditions or rehearsals, it's so easy to get distracted. And so, I've been in a place where I had girls be jealous of me, and I'm like, I'm the sweetest person here. Why would you be jealous of me? Why would you be rude to me, or why
Hmm.
would you act, you know, a little bit crazy? It's just like we're all here. We all made it. And then just to say, if I didn't get the part, and I just want to add on, I just stay to myself. I stay to myself because I know if I get involved with the wrong group, whether they be drama filled or just too excited, I can get distracted and I don't walk the same. Or I notice like my walk, if I'm trying to turn, it wouldn't be as like neat.
Hmm.
And so it's a lot. Like my mind is just like everywhere. And I don't like that. I don't like feeling confused. I don't like feeling out of place. I don't like feeling out of whack at all if I'm here to just complete an assignment and go home. But just to say, if I didn't get it, I would cry. I would cry sometimes, and I'm just like, okay, don't cry. You'll get it next time. And I critique myself, but not like hardcore because we are our biggest critics.
Yeah.
So it's just
Oh
like,
yeah, for sure.
Britt, it's gonna be okay. And my daughter, she's like my motivator. She's like, Mommy, you're still so beautiful, and I love you, and you're the best person in the world. So honestly, having like that one group chat prior to going to an audition or after, motivating you, or somebody you can really trust in your circle, or if you just have one friend or one family member, it's just like, hey, I just need to pick me up,
Yeah.
just like real
So those
quick.
people who are like real with you, but they're gonna build you up too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. It's important to have
Mhm.
those. It's because I was the kid, my parents didn't support me. I was in theater too, and I would do like improv, and I would do like competing in UIL, and my parents never showed up. I would have like cheer, dances, and they showed up to one out
Yeah.
of all 4 years of high school. And even my fashion shows, it's like now I don't even invite them anymore. It's like, you guys are not gonna come, and like everyone's telling me still invite them. I'm like, I know my parents, I know my family, they're not gonna come.
Mhm.
And so every single show I've had, even Miss Texas USA, you hear everybody in the crowd, their families there for them and things like that. And it's just like in my head as I'm walking and looking my bestest with my pretty glittery makeup or whatever. It's just like, God is watching you, your angel's watching you, if Mahogany was here, she'd be cheering you on, or you know you make the room for there to be positive and not
Yeah.
just view everything that negative that happened or could possibly potentially happen. It's just like, what good can come out of this? Just like this, I saw you at a fashion show, and then look, here I am,
Mhm.
and yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, yeah, positive assumptions
yeah,
are the way to go.
yeah,
Obviously, we need to be real with ourselves,
yeah.
but that's that's for afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But you should. I'd say it's good to have like plans for if it doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing the audition, when you're doing the show,
Mm-hmm.
it's all positive.
Yeah, yeah,
And then didn't worry about the other stuff afterwards. Like
yeah,
I know what I do. Like say if I lose this job or if I do this, I know what I do next now.
yeah,
But for now, keep on working, keep on pushing
yeah,
with this, keep on
yeah.
working, keep on pushing.
So having an ABCDEFG game plan,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
have those plans in the back pocket, but
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, it's positive. That
Yeah.
way, you're not letting these things weigh you down.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's important. It's important to declog. Say for instance, if you went to an audition, or you're doing things like podcasting or YouTubing, and you're just getting too many, rejections. It's like, take a break.
Hmm.
Take a break and rest and woosah and just come back and meet where you left, and make sure when you meet where you left, you have some things in mind that you want to change,
Hmm. Know
because
what you need to fix.
yeah, it's about attracting you. It's, modeling, that's kind of like, law of attraction. You get out what you put in. So say for instance, I tell myself all the time, say for instance, if I had like an audition to go to tomorrow, I would tell myself, you need to be prepped 2 days in advance. So, as soon as it's like your audition's like 3 p.m., you need to be leaving the house by 1 p.m., for like traffic purposes,
Hmm.
or
Yeah, yeah.
maybe you may need to get a snack because you don't know how long you're going to be there, or things like that. And I don't always prep. It's like, girl, you knew you had to do this, you saw on the calendar that this was coming up, and
You
you
need to be
didn't. Yeah.
ready.
And so I disappoint myself,
Yeah.
because I knew I was supposed to get content of myself getting ready, and it's like, you didn't even get that content, girl. You need to do better, do better, do better, or just things like that. So one day, somebody out there, I may need an assistant. Okay. But yeah, man, it's just knowing, know better, do better. If you want to see yourself succeed, put in the work, whether that's mental health, emotional health, physical health, spiritual health. Put in the work, and
Hmm.
what you put in is
And
what
then
you'll
for
get
some
out.
reason, it's usually all of the above.
Usually,
Yeah, so you
truthfully.
need a little bit of all those, or maybe there's one you really need to focus on. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, because it helps the mental. Like if you can visualize it, it's yours. That's
Hmm.
what my nana used to always tell me. My grandmother would always say, if you can visualize, and my teachers, if you see it, it's in your heart for a reason.
Yeah.
If it's a passion for you, you're not gonna fail. You just have to work a little harder and you know connect. I think collaboration is extremely important
Oh yeah.
when it comes to modeling or YouTubing and things like that, because you can't get the job done by yourself. It's honestly impossible, because there's somebody, say for instance, like you said, you have an editor
Hmm.
and you have a person who helps you make sure that your streams are flowing perfectly well. You can't do all that by yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I looked at my phone earlier. My friend was like, "Oh yeah, look, the sounds good." So, okay, I can relax now. So I
You
was worried
see?
about that because I had two where there was like a little echo in there, and I
Mhm.
didn't know when we did like the
Mhm.
whole hour, and so I still need to get those fixed.
Mhm.
But it's things like that where even with YouTube,
Yeah.
I forgot who it was, but this YouTuber who was talking about the fact that on YouTube you have like two or three people like doing all of this.
Mhm.
You have like the person recording, you have like an editor, you may have like one other person. But with like a movie, you
Yeah.
have like an editor,
Mhm.
then you have like a sound guy,
Yeah.
then you get like the music guy, and then you have like the choreography guy. So you have
Yeah.
like all these different people doing like one. They have one skill, and that
Mhm.
skill is getting them paid, and it's they're like they're at the top of their league for that,
Yeah.
and so that makes the sound just like simple. It's crisp.
Yeah.
That makes the animation or whatever it is, that one element the top of its league because
Mhm.
you have someone skilled in this one little piece that's killing it
Yeah.
instead of having one person trying to be like pretty good or like good at
Mhm.
all of those things.
Mhm. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's it's I think that goes back to for people who want to do YouTube or, people who just want to record their life. My friend, she ended up telling me, she said, why are you not recording this? Why are you not getting this? And she's just like, because listen, I'm over here venting to you and I'm over here like I can't, do
Hmm.
it all at once. And it's just like once you figure out what you want to do, because I did Keeping Up with Sparkle because my daughter looks like Northwest. And so I was like, I'm not superly like obsessed over the Kardashians, but I love Kendall Jenner.
Hmm.
And so watching her, she didn't want to be a model. She did not want to model. And so now to see her modeling, it's like, you know, are you going to let the world motivate you or,
Tell you what you should do.
yeah, or are you just going to go for it? And so I kept telling myself I want to cook and show. You need editors, you need camera guys, you need sound
Hmm.
and light people. And it's like, if I'm truly passionate about cooking and I just keep telling myself, I want to have a reality show one day, I'm going to need to be able to reach out
Yeah.
and I'm going to need to stop being scared. That's why it's so important to get over this part of being an introvert because I was scared to come here. I was like, if nothing goes right today, I at least want this podcast
Yeah.
to happen for me because it just kept getting pushed back. And it was like, my niece got sick. The lady of the house, she's sick, and then my best friend, he's sick, and it's just like, oh my god, my daughter, she's sick, and it's just like, if one thing
Can go right.
can go right, okay. And so definitely I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna watch this podcast and I'm gonna say, Brittany, get on it. I'm
Hmm.
gonna say, Princess, you got this today. And I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna be so happy that I did it because I was so scared to do it. I'm like, what if we don't get along? What if? And it's like, girl, just go. I was mashing the gas on the way here. I was mashing the gas on the way here. And I needed to come here because this motivates me, seeing this whole entire setup and knowing that this is something that I want to do. Because I had a podcast, but then I stopped after COVID
Hmm.
just extremely just got out of hand. And so
Yeah, like when
seeing,
bad things happen, it can crush
yeah,
crush
yeah,
that momentum.
yeah, exactly,
That's what happened for
exactly.
me with other things. Where it was actually the opposite.
Mhm.
Uh, Originally, like I was working, and I was working to a stressful job. Like we were
Mhm.
all making like some dark jokes,
Yeah.
and just like time after time, we were like waiting for it. We were waiting for it to shut down so we
Yeah.
could get off work because we were overworked and underpaid, and
Mm.
so we were all just like booking it, and then it shuts down. Like, okay, and so I was working on passion projects. I was like doing like TikTok. I was doing like YouTube stuff.
Mhm.
I was running like every day, and then I had to go back to work. I'm like, no. And so it was the opposite for me where that killed my momentum, and then
Yeah.
other things happened, but it was still stuff like that where having a plan of like this is what I can do
Mhm.
reasonably with
Yeah.
having a life like you having a daughter. What can I do within my time? You know,
Mhm.
with my time schedule to actually reasonably take care of the things I want to do
Yeah.
with my life.
Yeah. So did you say I'm gonna quit this job and I'm gonna do YouTube? Was that like your story? That's
No, it was more just like my thing is for me, I just want a good job until I can keep on working on the crafts. I know
Mhm.
realistically, this will probably take like if I'm patient, I'm positive timeline would be like 2 years, I
Mhm.
think, to where like I could be like a good spot.
Mhm.
So I think it'd be this is 2023, so like 2025 maybe,
Yeah.
like maybe mid, maybe in.
Yeah.
That's where I'd see being like, okay, like this is something that will actually be there.
Yeah.
So until then, like I want a job where like I like the people, I trust the people, where I can stay in that one job,
Mhm.
not move again, and that'll be my last job,
Yeah.
that I'm not working for myself.
Yeah. So what is like your dream job? Is it doing this full time or like,
It's doing this full time,
Mhm,
and I was doing like image consulting, but it was like really hard for me to market myself.
mhm,
So I had done like my friend, he's like a dating coach. So like
mm,
I helped dress some of his
mhm,
guys. And then I had like some clients online through like Fiverr and stuff like that
mhm,
where I'd send them outfits that would fit them.
mhm.
And then I had to be real with some people where it's like, this isn't gonna, help you. Like you need to slim down
Right.
too. But like for now, this will make you, look good. But like you could look better if change some other things
Right,
too.
right,
But it was just being like friendly, respectful, and honest,
right.
and that was my thing. I want to. So I already have a fashion book. So,
You have a
but
fashion
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
book?
have one,
Nice.
but but I didn't have enough money to market it well.
Right.
So now it's like my freebie. It's a
Mhm,
pretty good book. I was really proud of it. So I released it, was it a year ago?
mhm. And where
Yeah,
can you find it? Like Amazon or something?
yeah. It's on Amazon. It's called Dapper by
Dapper.
Desmond Broadway. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Can you like put that in the description box so we
yeah,
can all find it?
yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
But yeah, that's one of those things where there's a lot of things I want to do.
Mhm,
Like we talked about you. Like
mhm,
I want to try a lot of things. So I actually want to do another book. I've been mulling over like a fun idea for a while
mhm.
of a fantasy series, and so
I'm interested in those. Listen,
mm,
don't let me down.
yeah, yeah. 'Cause I already have all like the main characters and like
Mhm,
what they're. It'd be kind of like it'd be a mix of like fantasy and sci-fi,
mhm. Okay.
and so
I watched sci-fi a lot growing up.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So it'll be a lot based on like our biology, based on like the animals we know,
Mhm,
but
mm.
that's all I'll say for now.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, do you ever see yourself being like a director? Because I can kind of see that for myself.
For me, no, I don't see myself doing that. There's a lot of other things I want to do.
Mhm,
I want to get back into dancing. I want to get back
mm,
into like being an actual stylist. Like I'd love to
mhm.
do that. Like, I had hit up some people, but that's one of those things where you gotta get used to the nose.
Right.
Cause someone was like really sweet,
Mhm,
and they had told me, and I told them what I wanted to do. Like, oh no, that's basically the same thing I'm doing. So
mhm,
they didn't give me any more information. I was like, oh,
mm.
okay, that was weird. Cause
Yeah.
I was like trying to figure out how to be like a photo shoot stylist,
Mm.
and so I was like messaging them, like seeing how, and I also know that like people's lives are crazy. So it's
Yeah.
like if they don't know you,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't owe you anything. It was
Right.
just more like having that first thought of like a yes, and then
Mhm.
like not telling me anything else is like kind of weird
Yeah. Yeah.
because like it was like answered, and
Yeah.
then oh no, never
Yeah.
mind. This is
Yeah.
too much. I was like, well, you can just say no, and then I'm like, okay, like I'm used to that, but getting like a yes,
Mhm,
yes, maybe no
mhm,
is a weirder trajectory. 'Cause it's like
mhm.
you're going up that roller coaster, you think it's gonna be like a fun up and down, but it's
Yeah.
like a crash.
Yeah. And how do you come out of that?
For me,
Mhm,
it's one acceptance, and then sometimes talking to friends.
mhm,
Like it'll be like a light vent,
mhm,
but it's not. It's more acceptance. I've definitely gotten to the point where my key phrase is like no matter what,
mhm.
everyone has their own life.
Right.
So for me, if I ever think too hard, I'm definitely an overthinker.
Me too.
So if say like, someone doesn't respond, or they said no, or they said maybe, I'll either say maybe I didn't communicate what I wanted well,
Right.
like maybe the invitation wasn't explained well, maybe they're just busy with life,
Mhm,
like which some people are definitely are. Where it's
mhm,
okay, like, but they usually they make it clear that it's a life thing.
mhm.
But if they just don't say anything, I'll be like, okay, like I'm assuming like the positive, where it's like they're going through their own life,
Right.
which in some cases they just don't have the time to tell you that.
Right.
There was one where it's one of my old mentors. I'm actually going to do a show with her next week.
Mhm.
I believe it's Tuesday.
Okay.
But she's like a photographer, and she's like a modeling coach too. So she was
Mm,
like my modeling coach.
mhm.
She also do like photo shoots with me,
Okay.
and so it's like a bundle package type deal.
Mm,
But
interesting.
she's done photo shoots for a lot of famous DJs.
Wow.
She does photography with the Cowboys.
Mhm.
She did like a photo shoot with Post Malone, stuff like
Wow.
that, where it's like
I love Post Malone.
those people are busy,
Yeah.
and so just knowing, hey, these people like they have their own life
Right.
can help you if you're thinking too hard about it, like taking it as like a personal front,
Yeah.
which sometimes I do. But that's a good reminder that okay, like I don't know
Yeah.
because well, like she hit me up like a month later, but it's
Yeah.
like before I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like why wouldn't that person respond? But it's
Yeah.
like imagine all the people who are DMing them who don't know them, who could like
Mhm.
fudge you down or
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
There's like so many possibilities out there,
Right.
and I can think of like 20,
Yeah.
which means there's probably 30 more that I can't think of.
Right. So were you did you have to teach yourself how to deal with rejection, or did you art like was that instilled in you as a child that, if you get rejected it's okay before you like, kind of saw it as like, oh, this kind of made me upset or this made me feel uncomfortable or
I definitely taught myself
yeah.
later because I was terrified of rejection,
Mhm.
be it school, sports, dating, like any of it. Like I was absolutely terrified of
Mhm.
rejection, and so that's definitely something I learned. Like probably like so I'm 31. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
So early 20s, I think early to mid 20s is like when I finally learned it to where I was like, oh, okay. And I still had to work with it some, but those mid 20s when I was like finally like, oh, this isn't that big of a deal.
Mhm.
But I was definitely now it's kind of like fake drama queen. But like back then it was like it felt like anytime I pushed myself
Mhm.
to do something I wanted to do, it felt like it was the end of the world.
Okay.
But then around that time I tried a lot of different things. Like I started just putting myself out there more. Like I did improv for a while. I did like ballroom and salsa for like 5 or 6 years. So
Wow.
it's like things like that where that looks fun. Let me try it. That
Yeah.
looks like intimidating. Let me try it.
Yeah.
So
That's
things like
neat.
that
Yeah.
where yeah, I think those little steps are the most important.
Very much, very
Mhm.
much. Definitely taking risk and, even if you're not good at it, still just doing it anyway to say that you did it and that you have fun. And it's very great to accumulate experiences,
Yes. Mhm.
because meeting people in the world when you're in the industry like modeling, and people start asking you like your medias and things like that, and people, seeing you and what you do. And, it's just like, they may have an opportunity for you that's not even in your range. Like, say, for instance, you mentioned that you danced.
Mhm.
So, if you didn't take those ballroom classes and then whatever they were trying to plug you into was dealt with ballroom dancing, they're like, oh, yeah, I know a guy who, did ballroom dancing compares to someone who's never experienced it. So, I think, getting into the industry, try to have some things under your belt that qualifies you to be a creative being or that
Oh yeah.
qualifies you to be a great enthusiast, because modeling, you know, you never know. Modeling, if you're into like just runways or like editorials and things like that, modeling has such a broad is a broad umbrella. You have, you know, hair models, eye models, feet models, hand models,
Mhm.
watch models, arm models, and things like that. Commercial modeling. There's don't just because when I first started modeling, I said, I just want to do editorials. I just want to do magazines and things like that. I want to do, be in New York. My face is like for like Maybelline or something.
Mhm.
And I got all of my experience through runway. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I never wanted to do this. But it was like, why not? You're good at walking in heels,
Yeah.
So it's just like the little things, like you said, like the little intricate details.
If that's not what you wanted to do, how did you get in the runway?
I just wanted the experience. I
Mm.
needed experience. And
Until you double down like after that.
I was
Mm.
like,
Okay.
you're
Okay.
tall, you're
Mhm.
skinny, you're very fierce. Like this lady, she told me yesterday. No, she told me on Sunday I was dancing, and she told me, she was like, you have this very this sensual look about yourself. She was like, I can't explain it, but it's just so sexy, and it's just like I have to turn that part of myself on because I'm super shy.
Yeah.
Like they're like, you're not shy. I'm like, it's because you don't know me well,
Yeah.
but I am very, 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 very shy. But I have this bubbly, big personality that anyone could just adore. And it's just like, you know, you can't really understand your personality if you're just taking pictures of yourself. Because I started taking pictures of myself. And then that's when the photographers came. And then, Indeed or, Craigslist, I was kind of like iffy because there's some photographers who are out there that are very creepy and weird. I've
Mhm.
had my own encounters. So definitely all of my newbies into
Yeah. That
modeling.
goes back to what was it? I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I was talking to the photographer. We talked about how like the best thing is like obviously you should like look on the blacklist and stuff, but it's like
Hmm.
always bring someone with you. Like
Yeah.
that's I think that's like the golden rule, just because you don't you sometimes you can tell it's like
Yeah.
very obvious when
Yeah.
someone's creepy or when someone's off.
Yeah.
Then some people like you talked about before, was like you didn't know about the show, where it's like
Mhm.
you don't know someone until you know them, and
Right.
so you can have like a negative experience when you thought that person was positive. So
Mhm.
if you're alone, it's like now you're trapped there
Yeah.
in an environment you didn't want to be in.
Yeah.
So if you have that person with you, then
Yeah.
it's like okay, like what is
Yeah.
what is that person
Yeah.
doing? And she even mentioned like even as like as a woman, she'll ask me and she'll ask every other model, like, do you feel comfortable with me moving your hair? Like she'll
Yeah.
ask it every time, even when it's like
Yeah.
friends. So it's things like that where you can tell by the way they act when they just kind of act like they did like it's their spot, like
Yeah.
your body and the whole area is
Yeah.
there instead of
Yeah.
respecting your boundaries.
Oh, that is exactly what happened to me. He made his own magazines. He
Hmm.
did like anime characters from the Marvels. So he would create his own anime characters from like Spider-Man. So it would be
Okay.
Spider-Woman and things
Hmm.
like that. But he would have like Airbnb kind of setup vibes. And one of my little pictures in the magazine, and I never got those pictures to this day. I'm
Oh
sorry.
dang.
I never got those pictures. And he was like, do you want some wine? And, he had to come and pick me up, because I didn't have a ride at the time.
Mhm.
And I didn't have anyone that I could extremely trust to go with me. Or if I did, they didn't want to go. They're like, no, I'll come. I'll see you after or something
Yeah.
like that. So, excuse me, he would. He would like open my top. He didn't ask,
Mm.
and I had never done any like nude photography ever. And so he would like open my top and he would like pick my breast up and he's just like, oh, we can work with this. And he's like telling me like all this stuff. And then like he like sits down on the bed. And he's like, come here. And in my mind, I'm like, girl, don't you do this. This is weird.
Hmm.
And so he was like, come on, sit right here. And so I sit on his lap, and then he's just like steady, like inching me over to where he wanted to position me. And I'm just like, I need to go home.
Hmm.
But I didn't go home because I was too scared.
Yeah.
And so and there were other model girls there, but those were like his personal friend, like interests. And I was like, well, if I'm here with them, I should feel safe. But he had to take me back home. And it was just the most awkward, like it was so awkward.
Yeah.
But I just kept listening to the music that he was playing. It was like a mixture of like R&B, like instrumental, like jazz kind of vibe. And I was just so happy that I was home and I didn't tell my mom because I was living with my mom at the time
Yeah.
and I had just had my daughter. So I'm like, never again. So,
Hmm.
and then like that's like trauma, because like say for instance, I've grown out of that because now it's just me and you here and no one's here, being the trauma that I had growing up and experiencing things after my daughter was born and even before. But it's just like you have to definitely, if you are a model who's new, and please, like he said, don't not do your homework on these people, like
Hmm.
whether it be a director or a photographer. Make sure you go, like even if it's a picture, you have to scroll all the way down to like 2020, like no 2013. Make sure you get the vibe of the person before you say yes, because I was desperate. It's
Hmm.
like I just want to do any and everything, I just want to prove to people that I got this. I want to prove to people that I did something after high school, like, and it's just like I had all the wrong motives, so definitely do your homework. Make
Some
sure,
people got through the filter where it's like, yeah.
yes, yes, it's important. It's important, especially being a girl,
Hmm.
a young girl. And maybe if you were like me and you didn't have anyone to support you or you didn't have anyone to follow you, and make sure that you got safely home, because that's the time when like Uber and Lyft was like super like popular and
Yeah.
heavy.
Hmm.
So definitely
Yeah.
stay safe out here. Stay safe.
Yeah, and definitely another way to go about it, like if you're not gonna heed that rule, at least do the common thing where it's a location share, address, things like
Yeah.
that, and have that, like you
Yeah.
said, have the Uber ready too.
Yeah.
So all
Definitely.
right, I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I wanted to leave. They were like
Hmm.
smoking and everything, and I wasn't really like into smoking at the time. Well, yeah, I wasn't really into that at the time. So I'm just like, these people are gonna try to drug me, like, and you definitely have to be careful with the models too, because they get a little frisky too.
Yeah.
The girl that I was around at the time, she's a sweet girl, but at the time she was just very touchy. She was, you know, just not the way that I had rolled in that part of my life,
Hmm. Yeah. This
Um,
isn't this isn't what I was ready for. And then
yeah, she's just like, "Oh, it's okay. We're here to have fun. We're here to," and I'm like, you know what? I have to go back home to my mom, who's gonna think that I was a part of like a drug lord fantasy or something. Like, no,
yeah, 'cause I
ma'am.
did a Bojor shoot like too, and I was very. It wasn't bad because it was like people I knew, but it was more just like, oh, this isn't my style thing.
Right.
Like I'll do it alone, but unless it's like I'm in a relationship, I don't really want to,
Mhm.
because I was very like So I didn't know I was his hands. It's fine. I was like,
Mhm.
well, I don't know.
Mhm. Oh, so you were like a part of the photo
Yeah, yeah,
shoot?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So she was in laundry. I think I was like in a suit. Like I had to like take off parts of my suit, but it was like still.
Mhm.
It's like I'm not. This isn't really my style of
Yeah.
shoot. Like I rather. Like I really like fashion, like
Mhm.
fashion editorial, like that
Yeah.
type of style,
Mhm.
or just things that are creatively weird. Or like if I see a photographer, it's like that looks odd, but it
Yeah.
looks beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
Then that's what I'd rather do
Yeah.
if I'm not doing a show.
So do you prefer like when you're not invited to do like a photo shoot, do you prefer to take pictures of yourself?
Um,
Like have your own mini photo
I
shoot?
started out when I was younger, but I kind of want to try that again. 'Cause I took interest in it.
Mhm.
It's more just like, yeah, I want to try it again, but I
Mhm.
haven't recently.
Yeah. Okay.
But if anything, I might just do it for like the real sake of it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like that version.
Everything
Yeah.
can be a reel now.
Mhm.
Everything.
Yes, I did
Everything.
make some like that in the while where I was like getting ready with me and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like I did a lot last year, but I
Yeah.
haven't done any recently just because like
Mm.
kind of since people weren't really watching the fashion tips, I kind of like veered away from that.
Mhm.
But I kind of want to bring that back in since I still do offer like consulting and I still
Mhm.
do have my book. So then let me get back into that
Yeah.
slowly.
So when you make fashion reels and things like that, are you doing what's trending or are you doing what you like in the season?
Mm, I'll do it based off what's trending, but what
Hmm.
I like. So
Okay.
it'd be like what I got that week, what
Yeah.
like outfit I want, or like with my ex, like I was going to her like a choir performance,
Hmm.
and so like I did like a fun little Christmas video last year, or it was
Mm-hmm.
like me getting ready for that.
Mm.
So it's like things like that where
Yeah.
it's me, but it's kind of like basically it's a twist on whatever trend is going on.
Right.
hmm
Right. Makes
So you're
sense.
adding your own little sauce to it, adding your
Yeah.
own little seasoning.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
like that a lot. This is
Uh,
so fun.
I think I want to end with this. It'll be like, what do you think are the 3 to 5 things like models should like focus on to like get better as a model?
Definitely, if you're scared to, or if you can't afford to have a coach, definitely watch videos from, if you're a woman, I can't really say for
hmm
a man, but definitely for a man, honestly, watch different poses because guys kind of do like the same pose if they're
Yeah.
in like a fashion show. But for a woman, if you're doing runways, definitely watch like Victoria's Secret fashion shows. Definitely pick a model that sort of resembles you, your body structure, your features on your face, your hair, personality. Just not only models that are in this day and age, but like models who are like 1997 or back in the 70s or the 80s. Definitely study different postures and things like that. And for editorials or like commercials and things like that, or like magazines, definitely go on Pinterest. I use Pinterest for everything,
I
whether
need
it's
to
like
get on Pinterest more.
you will fall listen, it is so obsessive. Pinterest is very lucrative. You can make a lot of money on Pinterest. I didn't know until I started doing my research, but one day that'll be a what do you call that, money on the side,
hmm
passive income. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But definitely I would say practice walking, watch videos, okay? Cuz you can be self-taught if you're on a budget, so to speak. So that's one. Another thing, make sure you're being mindful of the way you eat and the way you drink and the way you sleep, because health is very important when it comes to being a model.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a skin routine, even if you don't have a great health regimen when it comes to like eating food, it's okay to eat a Snicker bar. Okay, but just making sure if you eat one Snicker bar, drink like 3 bottles of water before you go to bed. Making sure, because it ties skincare. Skincare is everything.
Yeah.
Skincare is everything. You don't want to show up to an audition and you look tired, even though you got enough sleep. But what you put in a body really counts. So I would definitely say practice with walking, Instagram videos. There's so many YouTube videos in Pinterest. Definitely making sure you have great hygiene, and that ties in with health. Definitely making sure you are, I would say, have a journal, because journal helps with the mental thoughts that you don't feel comfortable with sharing with other people. And
hmm
it's just like, what happened today? It's like self therapy. So making sure you're watching those videos, looking at, inspirational pictures, having good hygiene, having good health, making sure you're journaling, if you went to an audition and you didn't like what happened there and you didn't get it, or if you did, you just, your environment made you feel uncomfortable, jot it down and just figure out what you would do next time.
I was
um
wondering about that because I was curious like how the journaling like applied to this, but then
yeah.
that makes sense. So you're basically taking note of what you did right, what you did wrong, the
Right.
environment. Like, did you like the people there? Is it like
Right.
somewhere you'd want to like audition again?
Right.
Things like that.
Definitely.
Hmm.
And you can go back and you can reread, okay, this environment was different.
Yeah.
This, you notice that it was more vibrant, or, it felt a little dull. You don't want to, excuse me, have a reoccurring trauma, because you don't know what that little trauma can affect something else later on down the road. And you
Yeah.
just don't want to do that. And another thing I can say as well is looking at yourself every day in the mirror and giving yourself words of affirmations. Like, words of affirmations are truly important, because before you can do YouTube, before you can, become an actor, before you can model, you have to have internal confidence. And internal confidence is not just, oh, I'm beautiful, oh, this. No, it's I'm strong and I'm capable. I deserve this. It's not that I just want this, but I desire to have this because it makes me feel alive.
Hmm.
So those are just like 4 little tips that you can do. And as well, start changing your wardrobe. You know,
That's a good one. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
People, if you look the part, you got the part.
Yeah.
Long story short. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things where like people who are overweight will talk about this all the time. Where
Yeah.
it's like people make like negative assumptions,
Mhm.
and then like you lose the weight, and then people like make positive assumptions.
Mhm.
So it's things like how you dress, things like how you look.
Yeah.
They're making assumptions, and then they'll find out about you
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, like, this person's cool. It's like,
Yeah.
well, they were cool before. You just didn't take the time to get to know them
Right.
before because of
Right.
your first assumptions based on how they dress or
Right.
like how much they weigh or whatever it is. I want to add let me add a little 4B to the affirmations. I think for me personally, affirmations never worked because I wasn't putting in the action.
Mhm.
And so I'd say affirmations are
That's good.
a win-win, but the second part of that win is to prove to yourself
Yeah.
that what you're saying is true by
Come
going back
on.
to what you said with the diet, taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
If it's work, putting in the work so you like truly I am
Yeah.
skilled at whatever I'm doing, whatever your
Right.
craft is. Say I've been this ties back into the modeling where you're practicing. Say, okay, like I've been
Yeah.
practicing for this runway. I know I got this because my runway walk solid. Like
Yeah.
it's crisp.
Yeah.
And so there should be no doubt if you're putting in the work and saying it to yourself
Right.
that you deserve whatever's coming to you because
Yeah.
you put in that work.
Definitely. Like you just said, action is everything.
Hmm. And the
And
action's a feedback loop that feeds back into.
yeah.
It's like, okay, like the more you do those things, the more you become that person,
Yeah.
which means the affirmations you truly believe in them because
Yeah.
you're doing those things.
Yeah, and it goes back to having clear mental health. So journaling, and when somebody, we have it bad when someone's like, "Oh, you look pretty," and you're like, "Oh, thank you." Like, we just brush off the
Yeah, yeah.
comment, and it's like, don't brush it off.
Own it.
Okay,
I'm bad
own
about
it. Yeah,
that.
it definitely, because you don't like you have to, like, sometimes before you leave the house, you have to say, "Ooh, I look good." Like, "Oh wow," before you put the
Those
filter
are my favorite
on.
days.
Okay, it's just like, wow, I look good, I feel good, and
Mhm.
then naturally people just start looking at you by accident. You're like, what the stink are they looking at? It's just like they looking at you.
Yeah.
Like, so definitely don't wait for someone to tell you you're beautiful, or to tell you you smell good or you're pretty. Like, tell yourself first. So when someone says it to you, you don't have like that mental frame of like, I know I it's just like, thank you. And you can receive that with so much positivity.
And then
And
you want to have that mental frame of like a surprise. You're like, what?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, thank you.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right. And with that, let me plug yourself one more time. Shout it
Okay,
out.
so my Instagram, my Instagram is underscore. Okay, my Instagram is underscore XO Sparkle, underscore XOSPARKLE, and my YouTube is keeping up with Sparkle. If you don't want to type that in the little search engine box, just go to Instagram and it's in the link in the bio. So, yeah.
All right. And with that, tune in. Let's see. I have a live show Saturday, and I have one next Tuesday. Wait, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. So I have 3 shows coming up in the next 7 days. So look out for those. One will be with a photographer, one will be with a like stylist and photographer, and one will be with a model. Check them all out. And of course, live a life without regret. Take care.
Amen. Period. Okay, so I do want to say, right?
Mhm.
So if I know